Crowd, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, 2:30 in the afternoon. I know all of you have jobs and places that you could be, so thank you for taking the time to do it. Let me say a special thank you to Senator Santorum. I was on the campaign trail with him at the beginning phases of his campaign, as I like to call it, and we would go around. I'm from Buchanan County, small town, Quasqueton, Iowa, 499 people, and I'd travel around with him up in Buchanan County, up into Clayton County, along the river, and we'd get a crowd. We'd get 4, 5, 6, 10, okay, 10, okay. Anyway, and you saw him putting in all this time and effort and energy in it. Would not be deterred, just kept going from town to town, city to city, regardless of what the pundits said, and that really wore off on me. That says a whole heck of a lot about the campaign that he ran, and I certainly appreciate his support, the fact that he took time to come to Dubuque yesterday with us and here to Marshalltown today. I certainly thank him for his support. Thanks for coming back to Iowa. And,
thank you.
Yes. And the other candidates here. When I first started to run here for the 1st Congressional District, I saw all these signs that said, Dean Fisher Janiak. And I thought whoever the candidate was had 4 names, and I couldn't figure out what it was, because everywhere I went I saw the 2 signs together. But they put in a lot of time together, and I got to know them, and I'm very thankful for their support. I look forward to working with them. And Alan Bird, anybody that puts a tractor like that size in a parade, I'm all for them. That's the bottom line with it. So appreciate having them here today. And we have an excellent team, a team that you all can be proud of. And I know Marshall County is new for me. And I come from, like I said, a small town in Buchanan County, Iowa. And when I threw my hat in the ring in 2010, everyone wrote me off. They said, there is no way this small town guy can run for U.S. Congress. And as the senator noted, we came up a whisker short, 1.9%. And I'm very upfront with people. It was a big decision for me to consider doing it again in 2012. Because I know how much time and effort and energy. My wife, we have 3 daughters, a 1, 3, and 5-year-old. And I know how much time that it takes to put into this campaign and the sacrifices that they make at home when their dad's not around to come to events like this and travel the district. And I'm very thankful for their support. And I can tell you what, my 5-year-old, my 3-year-old, and my 1-year-old, they are committed to this, because I know anytime there's parades, they're always with me. We're walking parades wherever we can go. And I just want to share with you the family side of it, because there's a lot of ugly things in politics. They call you every name in the book. They called me last cycle Ben Lange for billionaires. And I'm from Quasqueton, Iowa, and I don't know that I've met a billionaire in my life. That's the bottom line. So that's what you face in politics. But anyway, we are definitely back in 2012, and as the senator noted, we can win this race. Governor Branstad just won this 1st Congressional District by over 5,000 votes. And I know you all have had the fortunate opportunity to be represented by Congressman Latham, and now you have Congressman Bruce Braley, who's going to fly low under the radar here into Marshall County. And he's going to talk about veterans issues. He's going to talk about child tax adoption credit. He may talk about Caden's law, the law prohibiting passing school buses. But what you're not going to hear him talk about is the national debt. You're not going to hear him talk about the Obamacare that he supported. You're not going to hear him talk about his support of the stimulus, cap and trade. You're not going to hear him talk about his 7 votes to increase the national debt limit, voting against a balanced budget amendment. You are not going to hear him talk about his opposition to free trade agreements, the opportunity for pork producers, right, farmers, all across the 1st Congressional District to sell their products overseas. You will hear not a peep out of that from him. Why? Because he loses on the issues when it comes to Iowa. What happens is, and watch what happens, because this is going to fly low under the radar here. He's not going to talk about it. You're going to see checks from every trial attorney across this country funnel right in here to northeastern Iowa. 2,500, 5,000, 2,500, 5,000, coming from New York, Miami, LA, Philadelphia, right here to northeast Iowa to buy this election. That's who supports Bruce Braley. And there is a clear contrast on the issues, the policy, the principles, and as Senator Santorum mentioned, planting that flag on true conservative principles that as Iowans, we believe in, we care about. And I always get asked the question, Ben, why run for U.S. Congress? I mean, why take the time to do it? You know how much work it is, Ben. Why do it? I believe in this. I believe in this cause. And you look at where we're at as a nation. $16 trillion in debt. We borrow 40 cents of every dollar that's spent. My 3 girls, 1, 3, and 5 years old, are $150,000 in debt before they can even ride a bike. That's what these suits in Washington, D.C. have done to the next generation. Folks, not only is that unsustainable, and it's financially irresponsible, but it's immoral. It is absolutely immoral to steal from the next generation, because they're not going to be around. These suits in Washington, D.C., they're not going to be around when the piper comes calling. They're not going to be there to pay that tab. And so what I support is a balanced budget amendment. Now let me be very clear. That is a contrast from what Bruce Braley did. Bruce Braley has an opportunity on the House floor. The balanced budget's presented. And what does he do? He votes against it. And then, about 2 months ago, he puts out a press release about 6 months before the November election coming up here. He puts out a press release saying, you know, I've had a change of heart. I now support a balanced budget amendment. Folks, if you don't see through that as an election year gimmick, if you don't see his true colors, we don't want to know what he says. We want to know what he does. And the fact that he votes against that on the House floor, that should say a whole lot to you, because he was the only member of the entire Iowa delegation of both Republicans and Democrats to vote against a balanced budget amendment. So we pass a balanced budget amendment. We cap federal spending as a percentage of GDP. Then we reform the budgetary process, because what I want more than anything is I want these members of Congress, I want them to see that price tag on every piece of legislation beyond that 10-year mark. Because what they do now, they look at a 10-year window. Anything beyond that doesn't matter to them. I want to see that price tag, those dollars that they are putting on to my 3 daughters. I want to see a 15-year cost projection, a 20-year, a 25, a 30-year. Because look at Obamacare. We looked at this 10-year window, right? We have no idea what's going to happen in years 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, you know who's going to pay that? Our kids, our grandkids. And it's time to come to an end. So we can do that, and we have to do that. So you want to know what drives me? It's about taking America and passing it off to the next generation better than what we've received it. And we are on the verge of being the first generation not to do it. We are on the verge of passing that country off in a worse condition than what we received it. And it's not going to be on my watch. And it's going to be my responsibility to make sure all of you know where I stand on those issues and where Bruce Braley does. Let me talk just a couple other policy issues, and I'm going to take a moment to take some questions here. Maybe even bring the senator back out for a couple of questions. I'm sure you have some for him. But what we just saw about a week and a half ago with Obamacare, when they ruled that constitutional, it just stuck in my gut, that the fact that they would do that. Because now we have a federal government that is unlimited. As long as they're taxing it, they can regulate it. That's the point that we're at as a nation. And it disgusts me that that's where we're at. But there was a paragraph, and I know these members of Congress, 2,700 pages, never took the time to actually read the bill. But I actually took the time to read the Supreme Court opinion on it, Justice Roberts' opinion. And there was a paragraph in there that stuck out to me, and I highlighted it, flagged it, and I was carrying around that opinion with me for a good week and a half after that. And everywhere I went to, I read that. And I want to share what he said in there. Justice Roberts is speaking to us when he says, the Supreme Court doesn't have the wisdom nor the prerogative to make policy decisions. And in fact, the people of America, if they disagree with the outcome of this decision, they know what to do. They can go throw those folks out of office. And he says, in conclusion with this, he says, it is not the court's responsibility to protect the people from their own political consequences. Folks, we put these people in office. We have Congressman Braley in office, and it's our job to get him out. That's where we're at. national debt, healthcare, jobs, economy. You know, I travel all over northeastern Iowa. I go from town to town, city to city, and you see these hubs of manufacturing in these small communities that everyone relies upon for jobs and opportunities. Communities are built around them. And we have a federal government, and we have a Congressman in Bruce Braley that continues to make it harder and harder and harder for small businesses to do what they do best, to employ our people, to employ our workers. We have the greatest workforce in the world right here in Iowa. We got to make sure that we put the economic environment in place from a tax policy, a regulatory policy, and a healthcare policy to reward economic growth, not discourage it. And I'm certain that over the next coming months, Bruce Braley and I will have a heated conversation on exactly the role the federal government has, because it comes down to this. All these policy issues come down to this. We're going to make a choice in November. We're either going to believe in a congressman that wants continued government involvement in every aspect of your life, whether it's health care, whether it's being the employer, being the insurer, being the caretaker, or we're going to make a decision that we want to send somebody office that believes in you, that believes in the power of the individual. Limited constitutional role of the federal government, individual liberty, personal responsibility. Those are the decisions that we're going to make in November. And I am happy to be the Republican nominee here in the 1st Congressional District, and I assure you, a lot of policy issues out there. But I said this before and I'm going to say it again. You're going to have a lot of candidates that have talked to you in the past, and they're going to talk to you in the future. They're going to talk about all kinds of areas. But if you take nothing away from today but this, please know that the words that are coming out of my mouth, this isn't just talking for talking's sake. This isn't just another old run-of-the-mill campaign. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the principles that we stand for. What my parents raised me on, what my grandparents raised them on. I believe in this. And all the other campaigns out there, from Bruce Braley, Barack Obama, they say a lot, but watch what they do. And I hope that you take away from today, that this is a campaign that you can believe in. That my whole family and I, my wife, my 3 daughters, my parents, even my in-laws walk in parades with me. That's pretty good, right? We're committed to this. We're committed to winning this race. And I certainly look forward to getting to know all of you here in Marshalltown and appreciate your support, appreciate you coming out here today. With that said, I will bring the senator out here in case you have questions for him as well, but if there are any, I'd be happy to take them right now.